The Carolina Hurricanes have gotten off to a fantastic start to the season. You have Dougie Hamilton playing like one of the best defensemen in the NHL. You have a great guy behind the bench in Rod Brind'Amour who has done a fantastic job with this team dating back to last season. And you have your former top draft pick taking a big leap forward, at least at the start of this season. So this video is going to be the start of a new series called Contender or Pretender, where I look at some of the top teams in the NHL standings wise and break down their season and give you guys my thoughts on if I think they are legit contenders and a threat to go deep in the playoffs, or if I think they are just pretenders, a team having some regular season success that probably won't last all year, or if it does, it probably won't translate into the playoffs. And I thought the Carolina Hurricanes were a perfect team to start this series off with because they are one of the best teams in the NHL. They have gotten off to a fantastic start, and they are a team that just made the Eastern Conference Finals. Before we get into today's video, I want to ask you guys if we can try and hit 500 likes on the video. That would show me that you guys are enjoying the first episode of the series and that you want to see more. And also let me know in the comment section what team you want to see me do next for this Contender or Pretender series. And if you don't drop a like on the video, you're going to see this mammoth of a man, Jaromir Jagr, in your nightmares. And that is all I have to say. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Starting the video off by taking a look at the 2018-19 season for the Carolina Hurricanes and kind of just looking at how they got to where they are right now. They finished last year with a 46-29-7 record for fourth in the Metro, and they had a really good playoff run that started out by them upsetting the defending Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals. They would then go on to sweep the New York Islanders before falling to the Boston Bruins in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was definitely a great playoff run for them, and it was pretty cool to see how crazy their fan base was about this team throughout that playoff run. They were definitely a fan favorite of mine and a team I cheered for during the playoffs because obviously my team didn't end up making the playoffs. They're a very likable team, and they definitely had a fantastic year this past season, and is definitely something that they can build off in this season. And obviously they definitely have started off building on it in a big way with their 6-2 start to the season. Their offseason additions were Ryan Dzingel, who they signed as an unrestricted free agent, Jake Gardiner, who they also signed as a UFA, and then Joel Edmondson. They got him in the Justin Falk trade, and they got Erik Haula in basically what was a cap dump from the Vegas Golden Knights. And Erik Haula early in the season has looked fantastic, and is a guy who, if he keeps this up, he could definitely be a 30 goal scorer for this team. And I just love all of their offseason additions. Dzingel and Haula, they're quick players, and they definitely fit in nicely with this Carolina team, who is filled with a lot of young quick players as well. Jake Gardiner just adding to that amazing decor, and obviously getting Joel Edmondson in that Justin Falk trade was a big bonus for them as well. Now moving forward to the present date, where the Carolina Hurricanes are 6-2-0 to start the 2019-20 season, first in the Metro Division and second overall in the league. Technically they do have the same amount of points as Edmonton, but Edmonton has a game in hand, so that leaves Carolina second overall. Looking at some hot starts for them, like I mentioned earlier in the video, Dougie Hamilton is playing like a Norris caliber defenseman. In 8 games played, he already has 5 goals and 4 assists for 9 points, over a point per game, and 5 goals for a defenseman through 8 games. That's pretty fantastic numbers for Dougie Hamilton. And then you have Andrei Svechnikov, the sophomore player, 8 games played, 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 points. So like I said earlier as well, he's taken a big leap forward in his offensive production, at least early on in this season. Yes, it'll probably even out a little bit, but I could definitely see him finishing with 60 plus points. And then you have Teuvo Teravainen, 8 games played, 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points, continuing off his breakout season from last year. And then you have the 2 new faces in Carolina, Ryan Dzingel with 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points, and Erik Haula, who already has 6 goals through 8 games of the season for 7 total points. Those offseason additions are definitely playing dividends for Carolina early in the season, and they are off to a really hot start. And you have to take into consideration that their best player, Sebastian Aho, really hasn't even gotten going offensively yet. I believe he has like 3 or 4 points or something like that, and he's definitely a player who should finish the year up around a point per game. And once he gets going offensively and plays the game like we know he can, this team is just going to be that much more dangerous. And Sebastian Aho isn't even having a bad year to start. He's just kind of snake bitten and not putting up good offensive numbers, but it hasn't hurt this Carolina team whatsoever to start the season. Now looking at some of the Hurricanes team stats, and looking at these, you wouldn't think that they are one of the best teams in the NHL through the first couple of weeks of the season. Their special teams hasn't been that great. They have a power play percentage of 17.8. That is currently 22nd in the entire league, and a penalty kill percentage of 77.8. That is 18th in the league. So both of their special team units are towards towards the bottom of the league, or at least in the bottom half. Their goals per game is 3.38, which is 12th. That is pretty decent, but their goals against per game is really where they're making their money and, winning games. It's 8th in the NHL, only allowing 2.63 goals against per game, and that is kind of the identity of this Carolina Hurricanes team. Everybody knows that they have one of, if not the best decors in the entire NHL, and early on in this young season, they have been getting some great goaltending from James Reimer and Peter Mrazek. Now that we are done taking a look at Carolina's 2018-19 season and some of the hot starts to this year and their team stats and all that, let's take a look at some of their line combinations, and these are via dailyfaceoff.com, a site that keeps up with line combinations after every single game, so I believe these should be up to date. A first line of Niederreiter, Aho, and Teravainen. Like I said earlier, Aho and Niederreiter have really yet to get going offensively, and that is a pretty scary thing because if they do, this team is going to be that much better. A second line of Andrei Svechnikov, Jordan Staal, and McGinn. That is a pretty solid second line. Maybe ideally you want a better top six winger than McGinn, but so far he has been working out well this season. And then you have a fantastic third line of Ryan Dzingel, Eric Haula, and Martin Necas. Necas, a former first round pick by the Carolina Hurricanes. A lot of people thought he was going to come in this previous season and have a really good rookie season, but he spent the year in the American Hockey League, and I really think that was good for his development because he's looked pretty solid for this team through the first 2 weeks. And then you have a fourth line of Warren Foegele, Wallmark, and Gibbons, so a good, shutdown fourth line that can definitely produce some offense here and there. And all in all, looking at the roster for this team, or looking at their offensive lines, this is definitely a team that should have no problem scoring goals, and obviously this isn't even the most impressive part of this team. Every time I look at this decor, it's like it's the first time I'm seeing it because it just impresses me every single time I look at it. A first pairing of Jacob Slavin, who is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, paired with Dougie Hamilton, who, like I said earlier, is off to just an amazing start. And then you have the newly acquired Joel Edmondson with Brett Pesce, and then you have Jake Gardiner on your third pairing with Hayden Fleury. When you have Jake Gardiner on your third pairing, you know you have an absolute stacked decor, and you also have Trevor Van Riemsdyk, who could probably take Hayden Fleury's place when he does get healthy. And then in net you have Peter Mrazek and James Reimer, who so far have showed off that they can be a more than capable tandem. And again, these lines are all via dailyfaceoff.com, so if some of them are wrong, I do apologize for that, but that is the site I like to use for looking at all the lineup combinations. And now one last thing I want to look at before I tell you guys if I think the Canes are contenders or pretenders is just the Metro standings from top to bottom so far, and just go over some of the other teams and if I think they have the potential to, kind of surpass the Carolina Hurricanes as the season goes on. So obviously in first place you have the Canes with a 6-2 record through 8 games, and then in second place you have the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are 5-2 through 7 games. I can't really see Pittsburgh catching the Carolina Hurricanes, especially because of how much injuries have plagued that team. It is super impressive that they are even 5-2 without guys like Bjugstad, Galchenyuk, and Malkin, but when you have Crosby, obviously that's what's going to happen. And then you have the Capitals at a 4-2 record. They're definitely off to a decent start, but I can't really see them catching Carolina either. And then you have the Blue Jackets with a 3-3 record. I think they're going to slow down and probably drop a little bit in the standings. You also have the Islanders at a 3-3 record. They are definitely a team who you could probably say are one of the more likely teams to finish in a wildcard spot from the Metro. And then you have the Philadelphia Flyers, a 2-1 record. Not the greatest start to their season, but I really do like the look of that team, and I would be surprised if they do miss the playoffs. Then you have the New York Rangers, have only played 3 games because of the bye week. They get back in action tonight against the Devils. That should be a pretty good game, and they have a 2-1 record, and that is definitely a team who could 100% climb the standings a couple of spots at least. And then in last place, you have the New Jersey Devils with an 0-4-2 record. I really can't see any scenario where they climb up at least past 5th place in this division, and definitely will not catch the Carolina Hurricanes. For me, at least in my opinion, I think it is a safe bet that the Carolina Hurricanes should be the favorite to win the Metro Division this season. My standings predictions heading into the year, I had Washington at the number 1 spot and Carolina at number 2, but Washington, Braden Holtby has looked a little bit shaky, and there just really isn't much flaws with this Carolina team. So to finish out this video, I am 100% labeling this Carolina Hurricanes team contenders, and right now they're probably one of my favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. And I know it is still super early into such a long, grueling season where you can have slumps, you can have injuries, and so many things can change, but I see no reason why this Carolina team shouldn't at least be a top 2 seed in the Metro, and definitely not a team I would want to match up against when I get to the playoffs. playoffs because they have some playoff experience now. They just made the Eastern Conference Finals. You bring in a guy like Joel Edmondson who just won a Stanley Cup, so you bring his knowledge into the locker room, and this team is just fantastic. Have gotten off to a great start to the season, and I'm definitely labeling them contenders. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said earlier, make sure to let me know what team you want to see next for this Contenders or Pretender series, and also let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes are and what you would label them as. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.